Think about the last time a song came on the radio and you did not change the station. Not because it was new, not because you had never heard it, but because something about it still worked, still got you.
Where have you gone, Joe DiMaggio?
After all those years and all those times, now imagine a song that has had that effect on enough people, enough times, to be played on radio and television over 15 million documented times. And ask yourself this, which song is that? Because the answer is a rock song, and we are going to get there. This is the countdown of the most played songs in radio history, and I have been thinking about how to tell it for a while. Some of these you already know. Some of them are going to surprise you. Let's go. Number 10. Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Tears for Fears. I have a very specific memory attached to this song. Driving. It does not matter where. And that opening synth line came in through the speakers, and I remember thinking, there it is. There is that thing again. And I was not even sure what I meant. But you know exactly what I am talking about, don't you? Because you have had that moment too. Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Tears for Fears, 1985. Roland Orzabal and Kurt Smith wrote it, and if you have ever tried to explain why this band matters more than their legacy suggests, this is your whole argument in one record. In 1986, it took home Best Single at the Brit Awards. And in 2015, BMI, the organization that actually counts these things, and has been counting them since 1939, honored the song for passing the 6 million radio play mark. Here is the part I did not know until I started digging. Orzabal has described the song as being about the fundamental human drive for control, global, political, personal, all at once. That specific target is what made the lyric feel universal instead of pointed. Because everybody on some level wants to control something. The song reached for that and found it. 6 million plays later, radio agreed. And if you have ever been in a car when that synth line comes in, you know why this song does not get old. The specific kind of music that this is, smart, sad, and driving at the same time. Those are the records radio reaches for first, because they do something to people. They move them without explaining why, and radio has never stopped noticing that. Number 9. Layla, Derek and the Dominos. Let me tell you something about that opening riff, the one that announces the song before a single word has been sung. That riff does not ask if you have time, it does not introduce itself, it arrives. And it lets you know that whatever comes next is serious. Layla by Derek and the Dominos, 1970. And here is the thing about this record that nobody talks about enough. It is a confession. Eric Clapton was in love with Pattie Boyd. Pattie Boyd, who at that time happened to be married to his closest friend. His closest friend who happened to be George Harrison, of the Beatles. I know how that sounds. But stay with me for a second. Because when you know that Clapton was so consumed by something he could not have, that he sat down and wrote this, it changes the guitar. It changes the whole record. What you hear on that tape is not performance. It is a man at the edge of something he cannot explain to himself. The name Layla came from a 12th century Persian poem about a man who falls into madness over love that cannot be returned. A mutual friend gave Clapton a copy of it. He read it and recognized himself. Then he and his band went into a studio in Miami and made one of the great rock albums of all time. Hiding behind the name Derek and the Dominos, so the song could exist without saying Clapton's name on the cover. He even played it for Boyd in person, in a flat in London, off a tape machine, and watched her face while it ran. She later said it was the most powerful and moving song she had ever heard. It took years. But she eventually left Harrison. Married Clapton in 1979. Harrison attended the wedding. Paul McCartney was there. There was reportedly an impromptu jam session. Nearly the whole story of the Beatles at Eric Clapton's wedding. 6 million plus documented radio plays for a song that started as something too painful to say out loud. Let's look at the numbers. Only 9% of you are actually subscribed. Honestly, that's tough to see. Our team spends days hunting down archives and verifying every single fact just to tell these stories right. If you've made it this far into the video, you're clearly part of the community, so please hit subscribe. It costs nothing and helps us immensely. Now, for those already subscribed, very few of you have made the jump to our membership, and that's a hard pill to swallow because you're the ones who know our value best. If this channel has moved you or inspired you, consider joining. It's the price of one coffee, but it's the literal fuel for this channel. Let's keep this alive together. Back to the story. Number 8. Sittin' on the Dock of the Bay. Otis Redding.
Now I know she's waiting.
Otis Redding wrote the first verse of this song on a houseboat in Sausalito, California, in August of 1967. He was listening obsessively to Sgt. Pepper. He was watching the ships come in and go out, and he started writing lines down on napkins.
And it makes it easy.
Hotel paper, whatever was nearby, sitting on the dock of the bay. And the reason it has 6 million documented plays and counting is the same reason it has never felt like a song you get tired of. It is utterly still. In a career built on full-throated fire, Redding pulled back here and wrote something different, something quieter. His producer Steve Cropper said they had been looking for a crossover record for years, something that could reach beyond soul radio into the wider conversation. This was the one.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
They could both hear it. Here is the part that still stops me every time I think about it. Redding recorded the final version on December 7, 1967. 3 days later, his plane went into Lake Monona in Wisconsin. He was 26 years old. And the whistling at the end of the song, that gentle, almost absent-minded whistling that the whole outro hangs on, he did that because he forgot the words.
But it's all so easy.
He had planned an ad-lib, a fade-out section he was going to improvise. It slipped his mind in the moment, so he whistled instead, and told everyone in the room he would fix it later. There was no later. Steve Cropper mixed the track after Redding died. He added the sound of waves and seagulls in the background, exactly as Redding had described wanting.
That's all you got to do.
The song came out in January of 1968 and went to number 1, the first posthumous number 1 single in American chart history. Otis Redding never heard it at the top, never performed it live, and the song he called Unfinished has been played 6 million times on radio.
All you got to do is know how to love. You got to hold.
Number 7. Mrs. Robinson, Simon and Garfunkel.
Unless you please, Mrs. Robinson, heaven knows a place for the.
Here is something that has always gotten me about Mrs. Robinson. It was never written about Mrs. Robinson. Paul Simon was working on a song called Mrs. Roosevelt.
Most of all, you got to hide it.
A quiet meditation on Eleanor Roosevelt and the passing of a more innocent America. That was the song. The character in the title had nothing to do with The Graduate, because The Graduate did not exist yet in Simon's mind while he was writing it.
More than you will know. Whoa, whoa.
Director Mike Nichols was obsessed with Simon and Garfunkel's music. He built the film around it, used 3 of their existing songs, then went back and asked Simon for something new. Simon told him he only had this unfinished piece, a song about times past, about Mrs. Roosevelt and Joe DiMaggio and stuff.
Look around you, all you see are sympathetic eyes.
Art Garfunkel later told the story of mentioning the working title to Nichols offhand, and Nichols shot to his feet. "You have a song called Mrs. Robinson and you have not even shown it to me?" And they had to explain, "No, it was Mrs. Roosevelt." Nichols said change it, and Simon did.
To the candidates debate, yeah.
Garfunkel once said it was a song they were about to throw out, a trifle, and it went on to become the first rock song to win the Grammy Award for Record of the Year. 6 million plus documented plays on radio. A song written about one woman, renamed after a fictional one, built into the soundtrack of an era almost by accident.
Jogging your head left and gone away. Hey.
And I think that tells you something real about what radio does to a record. Once it is in the rotation, it stops being about what it was and starts being about what it sounds like. And Mrs. Robinson sounds, still, like the beginning of a scene you are not sure you want to watch but cannot quite look away from.
In your pantry with your cupcakes.
Number 6. Stand By Me, Ben E. King.
Long as you stand by me.
Ben E. King was 22 years old when he wrote this song. He had just left the Drifters. He was starting over, and the song came directly out of a gospel hymn, an old number called Lord Stand By Me. That he had carried in his memory and reworked into something that was no longer religious, but still felt like a prayer. Stand By Me, 1961, co-written with legendary producers Jerry Leiber and Mike Stoller, who helped shape some of the most important records of the entire era. It peaked at number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100. Not number 1, 4. And King would later describe feeling like the song had not quite gotten what it deserved. He waited 25 years to find out how wrong he was. In 1986, director Rob Reiner put Stand By Me over the opening and closing of a film about 4 boys who go looking for a dead body, and the song went back to number 1 in the United Kingdom. It recharted in the United States. A 25-year-old record, suddenly playing for a generation of listeners who had never heard it before, and those listeners kept it, played it at their weddings and on summer nights in cars with the windows down, and radio played it for them, over and over, for decades on top of decades. +7 million documented plays now. For a song its own writer thought might have been underestimated. The gospel of sticking around long enough for people to catch up to what you made. And I know you know this feeling. The record you have had since you were young that somebody younger just discovered and cannot stop talking about. That specific strange privilege of watching something you love reach someone new. Number 5. Never My Love, The Association. And I know what you are thinking right now, because I thought it too. What? Never My Love, by The Association, 1967. Written by Don and Dick Adrisi. And in 1999, when BMI published their definitive list of the most played songs on American radio and television across the entire 20th century, this was number 2 on that list. Number 2, behind only one song in the history of radio up to that point. $7 million documented plays. You just smiled. I know you did, because I did the same thing when I found this. The song that quietly got inside everything, that found its way into enough moments in enough people's lives that radio kept reaching for it again and again, decade after decade, and nobody ever turned it off. Most people do not walk around thinking of Never My Love as one of the most important songs in the history of American radio. Most people think of it as a melody that comes back to them in the middle of something else. And that is almost the point. 7 million times, someone was on their way somewhere, and this song came through their speakers, and they let it play. The Association barely exists in the rock canon the way they should. They had 2 songs in BMI's top 25 of the entire 20th century, tied with the Beatles, more than almost any other act. And almost nobody under 40 would put them on the list if you asked. That gap between what radio knows and what the culture remembers is one of the stranger things about this music. And Never My Love lives in that gap, quietly accumulating plays while everyone looks the other way. Number 4, Yesterday, The Beatles. You know this one. We all know this one. But here is the thing I need you to sit with for a moment. Paul McCartney woke up one morning with the melody already there, complete, in his head. And his first thought was not, I wrote something. His first thought was, I heard this somewhere. This must already exist. Because nothing he had made before sounded exactly like that, and his mind could not accept that it had arrived fully formed in the middle of the night. He called the placeholder version Scrambled Eggs, because he needed words to carry the melody while he went around asking people, musicians, friends, anyone he trusted, if they recognized it. He was genuinely afraid it was already someone else's, and nobody recognized it, because it was his, Yesterday, 1965. The most covered song in the history of recorded music by almost any measure you want to apply. And here is the recording detail that still gets me. There are no other Beatles on it. McCartney, a string quartet, and nothing else. John Lennon is not on the record. George Harrison is not on it. Ringo Starr is not on it. The most famous band in the world made room for their songwriter to hand something in alone, because the song demanded exactly that. 7 million plus documented plays. And that number does not even begin to account for the covers, the versions, the arrangements, the times it has been played on radio in forms McCartney never recorded. The versions of this song that radio has been reaching for, in every configuration possible, for 60 years. He dreamed it, spent weeks making sure it was his, then put it on tape with a string quartet and nothing else, and the world has been playing it back ever since. Number 3, You've Lost That Lovin' Feelin', The Righteous Brothers. For 22 years, this was it. This was the most played song in radio history, the undisputed record holder. And when BMI confirmed it in 1999, the numbers were almost beyond comprehension. You've Lost That Lovin' Feelin', 1964. Phil Spector, Barry Mann, Cynthia Weil, and the Righteous Brothers. The story of this record is partly the story of what happens when a producer decides to change the rules about what a pop song is allowed to do. Spector recorded it using what he called the wall of sound, a technique that stacked musicians on top of musicians, layered instruments, and then compressed it all into something that hit you like weather rather than music. Not a song you listen to so much as a thing that arrived. And the tempo. The tempo is the thing. Spector slowed it down, below what a song like this was expected to feel like, and it became devastating instead of merely catchy. The original sheet music marks it moderate rock. It is not moderate. It is enormous. And there is a detail buried in the production history of this record that I find almost impossible. Spector listed the running time on the original label as 3 minutes and 5 seconds. The song actually runs closer to 3 minutes and 45 seconds. He did it because radio stations at the time had a policy of not playing singles that ran longer than 3 minutes. So he quietly listed a different number. And radio played it anyway. And nobody stopped to check a clock, because once that song started, the song was all there was. 8 million documented plays. The record holder for 22 years. Number 2, Brown-Eyed Girl, Van Morrison. Van Morrison has described this song as a throwaway. He has said on record that he has 300 songs he considers better than it. He has gone decades without performing it live. He is one of the most respected songwriters in the history of rock music, and he has spent years trying to make clear that this particular record was not what he was going for. It has 10 million documented US radio plays. Brown-Eyed Girl, 1967. Morrison wrote it originally under the title Brown-Skinned Girl, a song about an interracial romance. The title changed when he looked at the tape box and noticed he had already written it differently, almost without realizing. The line about making love in the green grass got it banned from some stations, a censored version replacing it with laughing and a running. It did not slow the song down for a day. Here is the part that makes the 10 million plays feel different. Van Morrison signed his Bang Records contract in 1967 without a lawyer. He was 21 years old, freshly arrived in New York, offered a deal. And and the terms of that contract meant he has never received a royalty check for writing or recording Brown Eyed Girl. Not one, for a song that has been played 10 million times on American radio, for the most downloaded and most played song of the entire decade of the 1960s. The man who wrote it and sang it has seen none of it. He says he does not care. He says it is not among his best. And while he says that, the rest of us keep playing it at weddings and in restaurants and on the radio every single year since 1967, because it still sounds like something, like summer and the specific weight of a memory you did not know you were going to keep. 10 million plays, for a song its writer wishes he could take back. Number 1. Every Breath You Take, The Police. In May of 2019, BMI officially recognized Every Breath You Take by The Police as the most performed song in the history of their catalog. 15 million radio plays, more than any song ever tracked. Breaking a record held for 22 years by You've Lost That Lovin' Feelin'. And the record now belongs to a rock song. I need to tell you something about this record, because the world has been getting it wrong since 1983. Sting wrote it in 1982. He was in Jamaica. He was going through the end of his marriage, the kind of personal unraveling that makes you want to disappear from your own life for a while. A friend had access to GoldenEye, the estate where Ian Fleming had written the James Bond novels. Sting retreated there. And in the middle of the night, he woke up with a line already in his head, sat down at Ian Fleming's own writing desk, and in half an hour he had the song, I'll Be Watching You. And I said earlier in this list, I told you we would get there, that the most played song comes from a place as raw as Layla and pushes further. I was not understating it. Clapton wrote about longing, Sting wrote about surveillance. He has spent decades telling people it is not what they think. In 1983, he told the press, I think it's a nasty little song, really rather evil. It's about jealousy and surveillance and ownership. He has called it generic, called it rule-obeying, said the ambiguity was the only original thing about it. And still, people play it at their weddings. It is a first dance song. For people making one of the most important promises of their lives, they choose the song Sting wrote about a possessive lover who will not look away. I know what you are thinking right now, because I thought it too. And then I thought about it differently, because the melody does not judge you. The melody just holds. It fits into almost any emotional context you bring to it. Grief, love, obsession, longing, and it does not tell you which one it is. That ambiguity, the thing Sting called the only original element in the record, might be why 15 million plays is not the ceiling. It might just be where the count stands right now. Puff Daddy sampled it for I'll Be Missing You, his tribute to the Notorious B.I.G., and introduced it to a whole new generation through the specific weight of loss. People who found the song through grief and kept it. People who then played it at their weddings. The song that keeps bending toward whatever you need it to be. 15 million plays. Written in 30 minutes. At the desk where James Bond was invented. Called nasty by the man who wrote it. Used at weddings by people who never read the words carefully. A rock song. The most played song in radio history. And I know you know this feeling. The specific thing that happens when you love a record, and then learn what it actually means. And you love it differently, not less. Maybe more. Because now you hear both things at once.